And joining us to discuss this matter is Dennis Kolesnyk, political consultant and analyst. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World. So I would love to start off with the fact that we see that one of the objectives of the meeting was the difficult situation at Polish-Belarusian border. And in fact, Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz went on to say that there are no migrants at Polish-Belarusian border today. There are people that are assaulting Polish soldiers, police officers and border guards, and they are well trained and prepared, if I may quote him here. So we do know that the cooperation, the Weimar Triangle, is coming back, and this format is coming back as a tangible solution to what is happening in Europe. So what do you think, how significant is now Poland's request for border protection support from France and Germany?
First of all, we have to remind that the Weimar Triangle was established actually as rather a political and economic with the economic ideas to help Poland to get back to the European family, where it belonged in 1991. But the intensification of the military and security aspect, it's actually took maybe 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. The last meeting between the ministers of defense happened in 2015. And as we all understand, the defense and security situation has drastically changed since then. Speaking of the eastern border, it is not only the border of Poland, but also border of the European Union and border of NATO. So for obvious reasons, and by the way, one of the key points of the meeting of the three representatives of defense ministries was the eastern flank of NATO, which means here, and by the way, since 2020, if I'm not mistaken, this kind of hybrid activities carried out mostly by Belarus, but with incentive from the Russian side, by channeling people from mostly the Middle East and to help them to breach the Polish border, is actually indeed a hybrid threat to Poland and to NATO and to the European Union. Therefore, the Polish idea and Poland asking the two other counterparts, France and Germany, to help with this problem are quite legitimate.
Now, what about, just to stay on this topic also for a second, so Poland's defense minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, he said that the results of such attacks that we see happening on the border between Poland and Belarus, that they would be painful not only for Poland. Can you tell us how might that be, that they would be painful not only for Poland, but the rest of Europe?
Indeed. As you have actually seen in Europe, you have a rise of far-right ideologies. And one of the reasons those ideologies are rising is that we are not addressing the issue of migration. But here, it's not only the issue of migration, it's really issue of a hybrid attack on Poland and therefore on the European Union and on NATO. Having said this, it is quite important as well to understand that more we have illegal migration, less we are trying to address this issue, more we are subject to the hybrid threats, because as we all know, Russia and other rogue states, they carry out certain activities and hybrid activities, trying to undermine our security and to create the lines of division within NATO and within the European Union. So therefore, it is important to us, and it's also a threat to us.
And what we definitely see is that now the tangible solution is on the table. Now, Polish Defense Minister, in fact, it has indicated Poland's interest to join the Franco-German initiatives to develop next-generation fighter jets and tanks. So what do you think are the potential benefits of that joint cooperation?
More joint cooperation is between three key European Union and NATO countries on the European soil, better it is for everybody. But at the same time, I'm rather a bit skeptical about, the long-term plans, because the nature of battlefield, and we all observe it in Ukraine, may drastically evolve. We've seen the importance of drones, for example, but will it remain? Will it be changed? I don't know, for example, there are also ideas about the creation of a tank, a joint tank by 2040, but maybe the role of tanks will drastically decrease by this time. So I remain quite skeptical about, in general terms, about the long-term, such kind of long-term projects, but at the same time, defense cooperation. And there were talks about also the long-range capabilities to be able to strike on longer distances. It is quite important, in my opinion. And also not only the question of eastern border and defense cooperation were discussed, but also the help to Moldova, by the way, which has also some fears and may potentially face the same fate as Ukraine if we don't help this country and if we don't help Ukraine.
Now, what about as, of course, we know France is headed for general elections in a couple of days. So now, how big of a factor and how will this influence the way that voters cast their ballots when it comes to foreign policy?
You know, the foreign policy subject actually wasn't really high on the agenda. We know that the left spectrum of the politics was exploiting, especially by the LFI party, for example, of Mélenchon, were exploiting the Hamas-Israeli conflict. But at the same time, we see that the most important issues for the voters are actually domestic issues. So economic issues, the purchase power, the security issues, but I mean internal security issues, which means the growing problems with the security on the French soil. So I don't really think that this meeting and this kind of information may significantly or have actually any influence on the electoral outcome.
However, on the other hand, it feels like now the political landscape in France, as it might change, it might also influence the hemisphere of the Weimar Triangle as a whole. So having that in mind, how do you think Poland, France and Germany can address potential disagreements or conflicts of interest within the Weimar Triangle in the future?
To be honest, you know, we all have to remember that in France, the foreign policy is the priority of a president. So everything that what has agreed upon will be kept, which means every decisions, every agreement will be executed. At the same time, obviously, when we will have a new parliament, the president most likely will not have the same situation he's enjoying right now. So it may complicate certain things, but I do not expect any drastic changes in terms of foreign engagement of France.
Exactly, because that brings me to my next question. I wanted to ask, how might a victory by the far right in France influence the country's commitments to international agreements and alliances? In this case, of course, the Weimar Triangle.
Yet again, it is highly unlikely that we will see any significant influence. First of all, if we see the surveys, the recent surveys, it becomes obvious that the far-right party, Rassemblement National, will not be able to form the absolute majority, which means they will not be the only party having the decisive vote. Therefore, there will be other discussions with other political actors at the parliament. Moreover, as I have already highlighted, in France, the foreign policy as well as defense policy, as we call it, the régalien, you know, it's I mean, the foreign policy and defense policy, it belongs to the president, to the president, and therefore the president will remain for another 2.5 years in power, Emmanuel Macron, and he will continue with his incentives and his ideas.
And now, lastly, you mentioned earlier that this alliance that was established in 1991 was set up to help Poland assimilate with the rest of European Union family. So, broadly speaking, now until now, how do you see that this collaboration format has evolved, and how do you see it in the nearest future, let's say next 2 years?
I will tell that, in my opinion, most likely the defense part of this cooperation will be one of the key focuses, because the security and defense situation on our continent demands it. At the same time, we all seen that there was lack of, let's put it this way, initiative from every country of the Weimar Triangle during the 2010s. And we all remember as well that we should bear in mind, actually, that the bilateral track is also very important in this trilateral track of the Weimar Triangle. And for instance, we all remember the Caracal, let's put it this way, scandal that happened and that spoiled the Franco-Polish relations in 2015, 2016. And it also impacted this the Weimar Triangle. And yet again, there was also no, let's put it this way, initiative from France to carry out with the Weimar Triangle. So what is important to understand is that bilateral track, Franco-Polish relations, Germany-Polish relations, and Polish-Franco and Polish-German relations are all very critical, very important to keep the Weimar Triangle important. But another issue that we didn't talk about is the announcement of the military exercises that will happen in Poland already in 2025. Weimar Triangle military exercises, and it is very interesting and very important thing. And in my opinion, by the way, it would have maybe evolved, and it would be good if it evolves in the creation of maybe a Weimar brigade, as Poles, Lithuanians, and Ukrainians also have this Polish, Ukrainian, and Lithuanian brigade with the headquarters in Lublin.
All right, so many interesting things coming up. We'll have to wait and see what the future brings. Denis Kolesnyk, political consultant and analyst, thank you very much for speaking to us here on TVP World this morning.
Thank you.